without further ado, let's see if we have Karin with us. She's our first speaker today. Are you there, Karin?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, and I even see your slides.
Excellent.
Welcome, Karin. Really good to have you here. And I guess you're going to open the show, and I'll just ask you to take it away.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon, everyone, or morning or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Such a pleasure and privilege to be here. Thank you, Magnus and Linda, for having me. So I'm going to take you on a space journey, a little bit longer than it takes to actually get to space and back. But we're going to start by looking a bit, going backwards in time. Then I'm going to share a little bit about what we're doing at Spaceport Sweden. And then I'm going to finish off with my third stage on my space rocket journey, talking about 10 reasons why and how every company should be thinking about having a space strategy and how you can get started. Are you ready?
Yes.
So one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind was uttered by NASA astronaut Neil Armstrong as the first human ever set foot on the surface on the moon. And this was an event watched by over 500 million people across the world and is still one of humanity's greatest achievements. However, this was far from a given success. There was an ongoing political race between the superpowers of the US and Russia, and Russia had shocked the world, and not least the US, with launching the first satellite in 1957, Sputnik. Then in 1961, they launched the first human into space, Yuri Gagarin. And not only did he go into space, he also orbited. He went round the Earth. And the US had an astronaut in 1961 as well, Alan Shepard, but he only went on a suborbital trip, which is up and down, not going around Earth. So the US was falling behind and was completely disillusioned. President Kennedy at the time, he was under a lot of pressure and he must do something to catch up and to overtake. And there was really only one thing to do. We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And we're going to do it before the end of this decade.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Can you hear the sound on this?
Yeah.
Yep. So this goal was achieved on July 20th, 1969.
That doesn't collapse too far, but it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
When Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin both stepped onto the moon's surface, which was really an astronomical feat of human endeavor and engineering and science. And Apollo 11 was to be followed by 6 more trips to the moon. And in total, 12 men walked on the lunar surface. But in 1970, the Apollo program was cancelled. It had been a political statement. And once that was achieved, there was really no more need to go back to the moon. Research and technological development was no longer a priority by the government, and nor was setting out a path to Mars, which would have been the next natural step. And it would take decades before any really big disruptions or major leaps were to be taken. Fast forward, enter Elon Musk. So Elon Musk was born in South Africa in 1971, and he displayed very early on a huge talent for computers and entrepreneurship. And he left South Africa to explore greater opportunities in the US, where he studied math, physics, and economics. However, he left school as he believed there was greater potential using the internet to actually change the world. He started an online financial service company called XCOM, which later became PayPal, which eBay bought in 2002 for over $1.5 billion. Musk, he was convinced, or is still convinced, that for life to survive, humanity has to become a multi-planet species, and we need a base on Mars. And he also thought that no current rocket would get us there anytime soon. So in 2002, he founded the company Space Exploration Technologies, SpaceX, and the whole purpose was to revolutionize space technology with the ultimate goal, again, to make humanity a multiplanetary species and to establish that base on Mars. SpaceX started off with this band of very few people who really didn't know how to make rockets. And the only reason that Elon ended up being the chief engineer and designer was because he couldn't really hire anyone. Nobody good enough wanted to join the company. So Elon ended up being this by default. At the same time, the US space agency NASA was rethinking its business model. It also recognized that we haven't seen any leaps of innovation in a long time, and the space shuttle was way too expensive. It cost $1 billion to send an astronaut to space. It had a very slow turnaround, very few customers, and it also had showed some safety problems. So they took a strategic shift and put on the seed funding hat and invited private companies to pitch for money from NASA. And this was SpaceX's chance. They were in for the race, and space and the space infrastructure obviously is something that the government still needs. So they thought this is our way to invest and get the new economy going. And Elon, he was focusing on developing a reusable rocket. He thought that's how we're going to get economies of scale, lower the cost, broaden the market, and actually try to achieve our long-term goals. And for Elon, failure is very much an option, unlike Kennedy's era where failure was not an option. However, this was not an easy feat. SpaceX had money for 3 launches, and they did 3 launches, and they failed miserably. Somehow they managed to scramble together both parts and money, and they put everything on the line for the 4th rocket launch. And in 2010, SpaceX did make history with the Falcon 9 rocket. And since then, they've flown cargo to the International Space Station since 2012, and they've flown astronauts to the International Space Station since 2020. It's a reusable 2-stage rocket, and it provides a reliable, safe transport for people and payloads around orbit. But in order to get to Mars, Elon had to think and aim even bigger. So this was the Falcon Heavy, which derived from the Falcon 9, and it did a spectacular first flight and launched in 2018. And you could see the landing of 2 of its boosters coming back at very high speeds back on the ground. This was then currently the most powerful rocket available. However, SpaceX has since shifted and started to develop Starship, which you might have heard on. And this is going to be the largest rocket that the world has ever seen. And it is for missions to go back to the moon and onwards to Mars. And SpaceX are hoping to launch the first orbital test of this new launch system. He said in March, but perhaps during spring, we hope so. But through the reusability and also transparency in pricing, launch costs have come down considerably. It used to cost $86,000 to send a kilo to space, and then that has now come down to $1,000 per kilo. And the Falcon 9 has flown over 150 missions, and in 2022, Falcon 9 set a new record, actually doing 60 launches, all successful with the same vehicle within the same calendar year. So Elon Musk really has set out and succeeded in transforming the industry, and I believe really advancing both the future and humanity. So through the advancement of spaceflight and spaceflight technology, it's also a unique opportunity for remote areas and smaller countries or regions to aim for the stars. We're seeing how new types of reusable space launch systems develop by Elon, but also by entrepreneurs such as Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos with the companies Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin. And they are developing spaceships and launch systems that are for suborbital space trips, where you go up into space, you have a few minutes in space or in microgravity, and then come back down on Earth again. And doing so, again, offering increased and safe access, not only for professional astronauts, but also for space travelers or for research, test and development, really enabling space travel for the many. Sweden has a vast space history, really going back over 100 years, starting with research and tourism in and about the Northern Lights. And it started in Abisko and in Kiruna, above the Arctic Circle in Swedish Lapland. And due to its vast area of low human density and also remote location with very limited air traffic and few disturbing lights, it offers a clear sky and also a very safe site for space activities. And in Kiruna, you already today find, of course, S-Range Spaceport, which has been launching sounding rockets for over 50 years and now looking to launch small satellites going forward. We have the Swedish Institute of Space Physics, we have Luleå University of Technology, we have a space high school. And together with the professional space, the tourism industry, Spaceport Sweden was launched as a national initiative in 2007. And what we want to do is really capitalize on all our strength within space and tourism and aviation, academia and research, and to provide customers and consumers with launch infrastructure for commercial space operators, but also for friends and family and research teams to come and live and work out of the area around the spaceport. And our vision is to become a world-leading spaceport and Europe's foremost destination for commercial human suborbital space flights, and also a platform for innovation. And we want to attract one or several of the operators that are developing these new reusable vehicles. And just like airplanes, these new space planes will have both business and leisure passengers. And we see that together with our partners that we can cater to all these business segments. So going forward in the future, this is what we hope you will get to experience.
From 200 kilometers above the Arctic Circle, I offer an invitation not available anywhere else in the world. A natural consequence of my courageous heritage. I am Spaceport Sweden, and Kiruna, my home in Swedish Lapland, is the heart of Europe's last great wilderness. This is the frontier, and from here, you will fly in space. I offer a trail of exploration reaching from the depths of the Earth to the edge of space, merging regional knowledge, rich cultural history, and cutting-edge technology into a full spectrum of innovative opportunity. At the Earth Sky Center, you can custom design your visit and arrange for everything from learning adventures and attractions to excursions and transportation, or prepare yourself for space travel. The Spaceport Sweden Launch and Aerospace Complex will always offer you a way to fly. Northern Lights flights and authentic training simulators, plus innovative spaceflight companies like Virgin Galactic, eXplore, and others, provide a hands-on dynamic environment full of authentic opportunities to participate, learn, and discover. S-Range Space Center, Europe's principal rocket launch facility, is nearby, along with the Swedish Institute of Space Physics, the foremost research center in the world for the study of Northern Lights. And what adventurer wouldn't jump at the chance to travel 540 meters deep into the world's largest and most innovative underground iron mine? This portfolio of adventure will attract 145,000 explorers to Spaceport Sweden every year, stimulating economic growth in hospitality and tourism and the growing commercial space industry. I am so much more than a destination. I am a pioneer. I am an educator. I am a research and business partner. I inspire people because the most important space is created in minds and hearts. I am Spaceport Sweden, your next great adventure.
All right, so we've been pushing not only the envelope, but I think a mountain range since 2007 to enable a new industry, established human spaceflight in Sweden. And what we are waiting for now is the new space law being established in Sweden. So all space activities need permission by the government. So we just need to find out which way to go to apply for that permission. And I am just thrilled and passionate about advancing humanity into space. And I can't wait to see what happens when thousands of smart and creative people have the opportunity to travel, to live and work in space, and to experience what's called the overview effect. And astronauts describe this as a transformative experience and really catalyst for care of our planet, ideas and innovation. And from space, you can't see any borders or any differences between people. And I really think that space is our greatest challenge, and that will bring us closer together, and we will realize that we are all one.